This is Radar for On the Radar Entertainment Blog, coming to another edition of MLB Observations Week 8, Hotstove edition of the 2022 offseason, going into next year's 2023 season. The Royals signed Nick Whitgren, a minor league deal. That pitcher will help them out organizational depth, and they can flip him at the deadline. Ryan Weber and Tanner Tully signed the Yankees. I feel like Ryan Weber will definitely pitch for the Yankees. Their bullpen is no longer a strength. Phillips Valdez gone to the Rockies, a minor league deal. Cubs will claim Anthony Kay and DFA'd Alfonso Riva. He's just a long line of first baseman. The Cubs have played in the outfield when he's not an outfielder, so there's no loss there. Anthony Kay is a Blue Jays starting pitcher who never really got his opportunity because by the time he got called up, that's when the Blue Jays were acquiring all these veteran pitchers, so the Cubs get a chance to use this guy as a starter. Diamondbacks the DFA'd Alex Sanchez. This dude can't catch a break. He keeps going from team to team. Nationals outright Geraldo Carrillo, and the Diamondbacks outright Tyler Gilbert. Adam Kolarek and James Jones signed with the Dodgers. I see Adam Kolarek again pitching for the Dodgers at the major league level because, again, ever since Kenley Jansen left this team in the previous offseason, their bullpen has been spotty, to say the least. Steven Duggars also signed a minor deal with the Dodgers that, again, outside of Trace Thompson and Chris Taylor, who's not an outfielder by trade, Mookie Betts is the only guaranteed everyday starting outfielder for them, so that's good organizational depth. Nick Neardar has gone to the Cubs, again, organizational depth. Same thing with Aaron Brooks going to the Padres. Phillip Evans, the utility infielder, who play infield and outfield corner spots, going to the Diamondbacks, again, organizational depth. Ronaldo Velez is the latest new addition to the Diamondbacks coaching staff, as one of their coaches has left this offseason to take a promotion elsewhere. And Austin Dean is going to the KBO. That makes sense. He's a natural-born first baseman who played a lot of years in the National League before they had a DH. And even then, some teams still played him in the outfield when he's a first baseman DH because they want that power from his bat. So it's a good guy to go over and see. Jay Newsome signed a minor deal with the Giants. Mark Payton, we reported that he is signed with the White Sox. And this video, well, he changed his mind and he's going to Japan. Obviously, you'll get more money in Japan and more playing time, so that makes a lot of sense. Kervin Castro's gone to the Tigers minor league deal, along with Kevin Padlo to the Angels and Jackson Stevens to Atlanta. Those are all organizational depth pieces. Mets DFA Williams Woods, because again, they got all these new pieces coming in. Gregory Polanco, the one-time shining star outfielder of the Pirates, is going to go to Japan. He had way more hype and he had a way more talent in his career than Mark Payton, for example, but still hasn't lived up to his potential, so that's a good move for him to go to Japan, get a lot of money, maybe have a comeback year and sign more money in the United States. Eddie Romero's going to the KBO again. That's a marginal pitcher. Zach McAllister, the veteran reliever, has gone to the Diamondbacks on minor league deal. They're not a bad team, so I foresee him playing for them at some point and being dealt. Alan Bunchewitz and Austin Romine's gone to the Reds. Romine ended the year with the Reds as the catcher. Because, man, the Reds can't trust Tyler Stevenson. The dude's been snake-bitten with all these injuries. So it's good to have a good third-string catcher right away in AAA. Leandro Cedeno and Courtney Hawkins are both going to Japan. The former top Sox prospect who never turned out when Kenny Williams was making these high draft choices on high school or even college outfielders didn't really work. Again, that's where you go to you build your career back up overseas. Rangers DFA Nick Mears and Royals DFA Ryan O'Hearn and the Giants DFA Tommy La Stella. It's come to a time where the Royals have Pasquantino and Prado, two first baseman DHs, and Hunter Dozier and Mundesai, who's going to play third base. Don't want to see any of these guys in the outfield. They're not with Merrifield. So it makes sense that Ryan O'Hearn, who's not the best first baseman or the best hitter, but he has got power, they say goodbye to him. Tommy La Stella makes sense because the dude has not been healthy since the Giants have signed this guy. He's a walking injury. His injuries have impacted his defensive versatility, playing second, short, and third. He's more, at this point, a glorified first baseman DH, and they didn't want to pay him all that money. Cubs DFA P.J. Higgins, because, again, Tucker Barnhart is one Gold Glove. Yan Gomes is a good catcher. They don't need this third-string catcher, so that makes sense. Rich Hill signed a deal with the Pirates. The old man is still pitching. Again, like I keep saying, this dude is going to pitch well enough, like Quintana did last year for the Pirates this past year. Get traded at the deadline to a team that could have really used him, and you're saying to yourself this whole entire time, like, why didn't he just sign with a contender? Is that the only team that wanted to give this old man a contract? That's fine. Sean Murphy signed a 6-year, $73 million extension with the Braves. The Braves, who just acquired one of the better catchers in baseball, already locked up Austin Riley, and they obviously locked up Matt Olson when they traded for him. They locked up Acuna, Albies, all these guys. The only guy they didn't lock up was Dansby Swanson, and obviously that's why he's no longer on the team. but they're making sure that their core guys stay put and they don't got to worry because they give a lot of assets to get some of these guys. When you give assets like prospects and all this other stuff, you want to get the most out of your value there. Corey Kluber is continuing his American League East journey, formerly the Yankees and the Rays. He is now going to the Red Sox. Next year, he'll probably go to Toronto or Baltimore, and then he'll, after 2 more seasons, finish his American League East tour. This is what the Red Sox got to do, man. Chris Sale hasn't been healthy. That Paxton move hasn't been healthy. He didn't pitch a single inning for them last year. They lost Eovaldi in free agency. Rich Hill, all these guys who have pitched for them in recent years are gone, so they need somebody to pitch there. And Lucas Ledich has been traded to Atlanta for Caleb Durbin, Indigo Diaz. The Yankees had to make room on the roster for some of the new guys, so Ledich was DFA'd. But now the Braves get this guy who had a comeback season to fortify their bullpen. That's a good move. Lewin Diaz, after being the potential Pirates starting first baseman, going to Baltimore and going to Atlanta, he got DFA'd again. I wonder which team's going to pick up Lewin Diaz this offseason. Injin Ryu, good news. They expect him to be back in July. They'll help the Blue Jays in the second half of the season to come back to the playoffs second straight year. Eli White was originally DFA'd by the Rangers, but he's picked up by Atlanta, so that gives him a quality backup outfielder because I know he can fill his position. And utility man White Park, who was on Atlanta just for a brief amount of time, and the Red Sox got DFA'd, so he's keeps being DFA'd and bounced around. Dodgers DFA'd Jake Reed, I guess, with all of the moves they made. Nathan Eovaldi is officially signed a 2-year deal, $34 million deal with the Rangers, and after getting DeGrom, keeping Martin Perez, and acquiring Jake Odorizzi, and tying Tyler Anderson, and they paid Jonathan Gray and signed him to a long-term deal last year, and they got youngsters Otto and Dane Dunning, that they have a quality 7-man rotation. Not all of them are great. Like, obviously, DeGrom and Eovaldi and Perez, that's a good 1 through 3. Guys like Jonathan Gray and Odorizzi are meant to be back-end guys, so you never know who's going to be healthy and who's going to be injured. So I commend, congratulations to them. So you actually went and got 2 guys who were aces in another team, kept your best pitcher from last year, acquired a good back-end guy, and you signed another back-end guy. Like, those are really good moves for this team that's trying to make the playoffs, because last year all the moves they made didn't really help them because, of course, their manager got fired mid-season. And then Gene Segura, one of the best middle infielders left on the market, who could have helped any team that desperately needed a shortstop, didn't get one of the Correa and the Swansons and the Bogartses and all the stuff that's out there, and Trey Turner's. They could have got Gene Segura at a good price. Also, could have got him second base. The Marlins signed him to a 2-year deal, and you're like, wait a minute. They love this Miguel Rojas, who's a glorified utility man at shortstop, which is why Jazz Chisholm, who's an actual shortstop, is their second baseman, and Joey Wendell, the utility man that got from Tampa Bay last year, and they just let Brian Anderson go, and they still got Jonathan Berti, who's another glorified utility player. Why would you get another guy who could play all over the infield? Like, this is not even the kicker. They went and got him to play third base. You could have, easily kept Brian Anderson, let John Berti get more bats at third base, take Rojas, who's a glorified utility player, play him at third base, or keep Joey Wendell playing third base. Like, why go and get a second baseman to play third base when there are so many teams like the White Sox? Just to give you an example, they could have used it. Now, the Marlins could look to trade Wendell, Rojas, or Chisholm because, again, there's no need. I don't know why other teams didn't sign him. There are plenty of teams that could probably use a second baseman. The White Sox are the first team that comes to mind. I'm thinking Oakland, who's not going anywhere. Maybe Anaheim if they want a Gene Segura to play shortstop. Like, there's some teams that could have used this guy as second base or shortstop. At least 4 or 5 teams. I'm like, the Marlins were not one of them. And they're going to confound the issue by playing with third base. Really, really, really stupid. Eric Gonzalez, though, the White Sox did sign this former Pirates and Cleveland Guardians shortstop utility guy to a minor league deal. Again, what does he have in common with Romy Gonzalez and the other young guy and Luis Garcia? Glorified utility player. That's not going to cut it. You're going to continue to have one of the worst productions out of second base and catcher. And now with Benintendi, you'll get your production in left field. The Loyal get your production in DH. But again, they got no production there. Tyler Danish, speaking of White Sox player, signed a minor deal with the Yankees. I can foresee him being used in the bullpen because, again, the Yankees don't have the greatest bullpen. Julian Fernandez signed a deal with the Jays on minor league deal, and the Twins re-signed Danny Colombo. I can foresee him being used again. And Marlon Gonzalez, who just was like on the Yankees and the Astros again for a second time, he is going to go to Japan, which makes sense because utility players can get everyday chances to play overseas. And I wanted to get to the two people who passed away in baseball. Rest in peace to Dick Flavin, the American poet known as a poet of the Red Sox, and the team public address announcer, and a journalist, TV commentator, and playwright. He passed away at the age of 80. Rest in peace to him. Rest in peace to Fred Valentine, the former Orioles, Senators, outfielder who also went to Japan in 1970, and not a lot of players were doing that. He finished with a .247 career average, 36 homers, and 138 RBIs. That's more of a backup, but again, rest in peace to me, passed away at the age of 87. Thanks again to listening to another edition of the MLB Observations Hotstove Edition Week 8 of the 2022 offseason, going to next year for the 2023 season. For Other Entertainment Blog, I'm Raider. See you guys next time.